Being so calm it makes people nervous isn't about acting tough or showing off. It's a method, a real working method for moments when everyone else is rushing, yelling, and making dramatic statements. It's powerful because it swaps panic for poise and ignores the pressure to react in a frenzy. You'll find this method used by people who face emergencies for a living, those who have to talk people down from ledges, convince someone to open a locked door, or steady a collapsing scene with nothing but words and presence. These people know that calm isn't a feeling. It's a bunch of small, practiced moves. Slowing your breath, standing in a grounded way, speaking clearly and simply, and focusing on just one real, manageable thing at a time. When done right, this quiet control can shift the mood of an entire room. Sometimes it unsettles others more than it comforts them, because it stands in such sharp contrast to their panic. Picture this. It's a cold morning. A crisis negotiator stands in a narrow hallway outside an apartment. The door is jammed from the inside. The air smells stale. People nearby are tense. The negotiator doesn't rush. They wrap their scarf, plant their feet, and let out a slow breath. Just that exhale makes the shoulders around them loosen slightly. They begin with something tiny, like asking if the towel at the bottom of the door is blocking the draft. Then they pause. That pause isn't awkward. It's intentional. It's a signal to everyone's nervous system to slow down. Without even knowing it, people nearby start syncing their breathing to that rhythm. When someone behind the door yells out, angry and loud, the negotiator doesn't bite. They don't argue, don't flatter. They just respond with a quiet, solid observation. Something like, "I hear the chair moving. I'm not going anywhere. We can take this 1 inch at a time." That shift, away from the drama, toward something real and mechanical, makes space for the situation to change. Big problems get smaller when you talk about them in terms of a latch, a towel, a breath. Elsewhere, a more dramatic moment is unfolding on a city bridge. A person clings to the outer rail. Cold wind blasts across the water. Their hands are white-knuckled. The negotiator doesn't shout, doesn't beg. They talk about the wind, ask if the gloves are too tight. Attention moves from death to discomfort, from overwhelming emotion to a body detail. That focus, wind, fingers, cold, reminds the person they still have a body. That's the first step back. Then another. Then another. It's slow. Slower than TV dramas ever show. But that's exactly the point. Real calm doesn't chase applause. It creates just enough quiet for someone to choose to live. You don't have to be on a bridge to use this. The same strategy works inside an airport control room during a lightning storm. The person in charge doesn't scream into the headset. They lower their voice. One instruction at a time. Clear nouns, strong verbs. In a packed emergency room, the lead nurse pauses against the wall for one deep breath before giving the first command. That breath buys clarity for the next few minutes. In a school lockdown, the principal adjusts their voice to sound like late-night radio, then quietly writes the next step on a whiteboard. The marker's squeak tells people, sequence still exists. The world didn't disappear. It's an ancient craft. Back when storms were real threats to towns, a lighthouse keeper would pour oil into a lamp like he was giving medicine to a child, even as neighbors panicked about the roof flying off. A telegraph operator during an earthquake didn't try to sound poetic. He tapped out short, simple words that save time and lives. The common thread? They all refuse to match the urgency of fear. The real strength here isn't about charm or cleverness. It's biological leverage. Your body is full of built-in signals. If you stretch your exhale, your nervous system gets the message. The threat isn't here yet. If you unclench your jaw, the panic doesn't move up your neck. If you look around and spot the edges of the room, your brain realizes it's not in a tunnel. If you help someone name what they're feeling, burning hands, dry mouth, their system shifts focus from the big scary story to the real, manageable sensation. Ask for a count. How many people are in the room? How many steps to the door? How long till the baby needs to eat? These aren't random questions. They give the brain a job, and once the brain is doing something with numbers or steps, panic has less space to grow. In one hostage standoff on a bus, a negotiator asks if the person inside wants a bottle of water. It sounds like kindness. It's also neuroscience. Dehydration makes everything feel worse. The water cools the nervous system. Then comes another request. Turn off the overhead light. Bright glare and sweat make anger worse. With the lights off, breathing slows. The person hears their own heartbeat. That's when the negotiator asks for a count. The reply shifts the brain from fantasy to reality, and from reality, deals become possible. This isn't weakness. The calm voice is the one that says no cleanly when needed. That doesn't sugarcoat hard truths. That doesn't guess or promise what can't be promised. That says, I don't know yet, but I'm staying ironically. The person who stays quiet, grounded and real, ends up holding the room longer than the one who makes big promises. Because people's nervous systems crave structure more than show. This isn't magic. It's a muscle built in boring rooms with foldable chairs. Crisis teams practice naming feelings in plain words. They fidget with tokens, a coin, a paperclip, not for luck, but to keep their hands busy and steady. They learn to feel the heat rising in their neck and not act on it. They wait past the first answer their adrenaline throws at them, because that first answer is usually wrong. To outsiders, this calm can feel strange. People expect panic to match panic. When someone doesn't rise to that bait, it breaks the mirror. Bystanders might call them cold, robotic, but it's not a performance. It's scaffolding. You only notice its strength when the pressure hits and it holds. This method isn't limited to negotiators or emergencies. It shows up in all high-stakes spaces. On a stock trading floor, when numbers go sideways, the leader speaks like they're reading a cooking recipe. One action per sentence. In a cyber attack response room, the person in charge writes a plan in all caps on a whiteboard. Not for drama, but because clear steps calm anxious brains. In a train control center after a derailment, the dispatcher rolls a stress ball in one hand while making calls with the other. The hand stays busy, so the voice stays steady. Sometimes the calm has to push back against people who want drama. A person on a roof with a crowd below isn't looking for a solution. They're looking for an audience. The negotiator doesn't give them one. They start talking about shoelaces cutting into ankles, sunglasses slipping off. Slowly, the person stops being a performer and becomes just a person again. The crowd stops being an audience and becomes a neighborhood. That's when gravity feels like physics again, not an argument, and coming down starts to feel like a choice, not defeat. There's an ethics here, hidden in the small details. This isn't about winning. It's about guiding the pace and focus until the narrowest path away from disaster becomes walkable. It doesn't use shame as a tactic. It avoids sarcasm because sarcasm needs an audience. It avoids rushing because rushing makes people stupid. Instead of fake empathy, it offers accuracy. You sound angry. You sound exhausted. You feel like no one listened. I'm not here to win. I'm here until we don't lose. That one honest sentence is more powerful than a dozen motivational posters. In your own life, this looks like standing wider than usual, letting the breath fully finish, starting meetings with one solid fact, not a sweeping opinion, speaking to the real body in front of you, not just the words they throw like darts, slowing things down from sprint to step by step, shorter sentences when voices rise, moving arguments to quieter places, looking at someone's shoes if eye contact feels like lightning, writing the next step somewhere visible. These are small moves until they change someone's whole day. When done long enough, this calm starts to feel like power, even when you have none. A team picks your idea not because it dazzles, but because it makes sense when they're tired. A kid crying over a broken science fair project starts to breathe with you without realizing it. An elderly parent in a chaotic clinic stops shaking because you speak in steady beats, and the nurse follows your tone. You spend your attention so carefully that others feel safe spending theirs too. This won't fix everything. It can't undo the past. It won't erase grief. It can't create magic resources. But it can buy time. It can open up a bit more space for options that looked like dead ends. It can quiet the noise just enough for facts to line up. It leaves room for a kind of humor that doesn't hurt anyone. And most of all, it brings people, including yourself, back into a body that remembers how to breathe. One veteran negotiator once leaned against a hallway wall after a long conversation that barely stayed on track. They told a new trainee the simple truth. You don't win these, you outlast them. And then they added the real trick. You outlast them with boring calm. The mug placed down gently. The pause before walking in. The honesty of not pretending you know. The discipline to not react to bait. The willingness to be the least exciting person in the room for hours. That stuff never makes headlines. But it saves lives. The world is not getting quieter. Sirens rise. Social feeds scream. Everyone's tired and trading attention for cheap dopamine. In this world, the rarest luxury is a pace that doesn't apologize. The calm lives in stairwells, lobbies, back offices, and bus stops. It can live in your kitchen, in your emails, in the way you wait in line. Your calm will make people uncomfortable, especially those who thrive on chaos. Let it. That discomfort is the first sign the room is starting to change. Being so calm it makes people nervous isn't a dare. It's a set of instructions. Breathe fully. Stand steady. Use clear words. Pause more than you speak. Notice details out loud. That's how you shift the air in a room. That's how drama loses its grip. That's how the weapon ends up on the floor instead of in a hand. That's how a scary night ends in sleep instead of sirens. Do this often enough, and it becomes the way you exist in the world. The world will still be loud, but you won't be. And that difference, it saves more people than you'll ever know. Quietly and for real.